Morning, guys. We're on Revelation chapter 6 on the fifth seal, where we're talking about the martyrdom of God's people. And we've been looking at many events and the judgments of God that will be poured out on earth. Many famines, wars, and people dying in the fifth seal. And now the saints get persecuted and they cry out to God. When is God going to avenge their blood? And we're reading from verse 11, and it says, "And there was given to each of them a white robe, and they were told that they should rest for a little while longer." And so the saints are being given the white robe representing purity, that they've been covered, their sin has been covered by Christ, and Christ will protect them. It's Christ's righteousness that embraces them. And God's so gracious that He'll wait for every person, give people a chance. And so there's a time where He's waiting for enough people to die before the judgment actually comes for their blood. And He says to them, rest for a little while longer, until the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who were to be killed, even as they had been, would be completed also. And so the persecution of the saints will get more and more and more as Satan gets more in charge of the world, as he takes on a reign, as God gives him a bit more power to rule the world with this, first of all with peace, and then bringing the destruction on the world. But these events have also happened in the past. So up until now, famines have happened, wars have happened, and saints have been persecuted. But as the time gets closer to the end, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. But now, as we open the sixth seal, we can see that these are clearly future events. And so up until now, these things happen regularly, but now they'll just get worse and worse. But now the sixth seal is definitely something that hasn't happened, because it says, "I looked when He broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth and made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood." And although we've had blood moons, we haven't had a combination of the sun going completely black, like when Jesus died, with that blood moon. And so this event hasn't taken place, and so we're looking for, now the whole earth is under that wrath that has been poured out. It goes on to say, the sky, in verse 14, was split apart like a scroll when it was rolled up, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And we see different verses talking about this day of the Lord. There's verses in Joel talking about similar events that take place. Verse 15, "Then the kings of the earth and the great men and the commanders and the rich and the strong and every slave and every free man hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains." Can you imagine the fear that grips them at this stage, when the whole world is shaken, and the no more light, and the blood moon and the stars falling and the splits and the earthquakes, and absolutely a terrifying time. And it says, "And they said to the mountains and to the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the presence of Him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of the wrath has come, and who is able to stand?" So there is a day of judgment coming, and the wrath is going to be so terrifying. And so as we read these events, it should strike our hearts to be ready for the coming of the Lord Jesus. Make sure that you are saved. Make sure that you are covered by that robe of righteousness, because the salvation is only found in Him. And so we need to believe on Him today, because today is the day of salvation. God bless.